So welcome everyone to the fourth annual, well, it's not annual anymore because we had to at some point stop last year in 2018, and you'll see just now with the introduction. But welcome to the fourth Coaching in Africa Symposium. The fourth Coaching in Africa Symposium is essentially the work that we created essentially to talk about Africa in the 22nd century rather than in the 21st century. So we are thinking about 100 years from now. Where will we be? So I'll talk a little bit about it. My name is Monges Makalima, for those who don't know me, and my job is to help leaders develop consciousness and accountability. For those who've heard this speech before, so you can close your ears, some of my friends that are in the room, but I always say to people, there are three things that are an essence of me. I'm an African, I'm an elder, and I'm a leader. I'm an African because I wake up every morning asking, how do I put Africa in the center of the world where it's supposed to be? And I refuse to do any work that doesn't allow me to do that. So that's how I woke up this morning very early. By 4 o'clock, I was up and ready, and 8 o'clock, I was here waiting for people to come in, and nobody was here. And then I realized I had actually given people the starting time for 10 o'clock. So Osman Talipula was laughing at me to say, why am I so mafuloful? Having woken up so early? Who comes at 8 o'clock? People have traffic coming online. But I'm very passionate about this continent and what it can do. And I think the Africa Board for Coaching, Consulting and Coaching Psychology is one of the ways in which I do that, try to put Africa in the center of the world where it's supposed to be, where we make sure that coaches are who they say they are, consultants are who they say they are, and can contribute to the world as we know it. And then, as I mentioned, the second thing that is an essence of me is I'm a leader. Again, not a position thing. It's more about starting things from scratch. I don't wait for things to happen. I make things happen. So this symposium was supposed to actually be cancelled again because the corona happened. But when the corona happened, I spoke to the board, I spoke to some of the brave people that I work with, and all of them indicated that let's just go ahead, Mac. Let's see. Let's invite people to come in online. So I'm glad that you guys responded to the call. As if I'm not mistaken, this would be the first coaching symposium on the continent that is happening for 3 days, completely online. So perhaps we are also blazing the path there. I'm happy to be wrong, but this is the first for me, absolutely. So to run a three-day conference all by myself, well, not all by myself, because good news, who will join us at some point. He's been struggling to join as my partner in crime will come through. And then finally, the third thing that's an essence of me is an elder. As an elder, I take it very seriously, the task of those that come after us. Hold on. Yeah, so I take it very seriously, the task of those that come after us. As Dr. Miles Monroe put it, when I met him once, he said many leaders are more interested in the next election than they are in the next generation. I'm not that guy. And you will see that part of the theme for this symposium is youth and technology. Dr. Magadlela will tell you the one conversation that we tend to have around the advantage of Africa in the world as the second biggest continent in the world, but also the youngest continent in the world, which means it's actually contested territory. And if we are talking about the 22nd century, we cannot not talk about youth. And hence the theme for this session is youth and technology. So we try to get some more younger people instead of us just old fogies just sitting in the room. But let's see how it goes. So that's me. That's the introduction. So I'll be your MC for the rest of the day. People will come in and people will come out. Presentations will come through. I don't know what I'm doing, but at least I know how the technology works. I've had a lot of the practice. So if you're struggling, let me know. But let's tell people what's going on. So our hashtag, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Facebook, hashtag Coaching Africa 2020. We are no longer there in the old days of 140 characters. So Coaching Africa, you should write it in full, right? You can't even do Youth Africa 2020. You will still have space to say what you want to say. Say, Dr. Magadlela says something very important at the Coaching Africa Symposium 2020. And then, of course, you can follow us at Coaching Africa with the UI, which is the original name of the continent. For those who don't know, they go like, why did you spell it so wrong? No, it's not wrong. That's actually the original, at least according to history as we know it now. If something else changes, we'll change it. And then, of course, you can follow me if you like how I MC. I'm MCMAK on Twitter. Sorry, kish, kish, kish. And then you can follow the ABCCCP at ABCCCP everywhere. Cool. I'm nervous. So let's talk about the rules. How do we work before Dr. Magadlela comes in? So I know that many people don't know. Well, some people know how to work with this thing, some people don't. All of us, this virus has made sure that we are dragged into the 21st century kicking and screaming. So I'm fortunate that I was prepared in 1989. So, so I was waiting for just this moment. So we use this word called netiquette when I was getting online in 1989 at West University, and we were doing some chats. So I'm going to share some of the rules. First of all, participate, contribute to the conversations. Just don't sit there in the back, all right? How do you contribute? If you hover your mouse, if you're joining on a laptop or a PC, if you hover your mouse at the bottom, or you run your mouse at the bottom of your screen, it will show you all the different menu items and the 3 dots towards the end of the right-hand corner of your screen that has the word chat on it. Use that chat. Is a chat box. Every time I say put your messages in the chat box, put your message in the chat box. You can speak to everyone. You can speak individually to other people, but try to speak more into everyone rather than those private gossip conversations that we have. I know you do. I know you all do. And let's help each other. I know some of us are much more advanced than others. So ask for help. You can ask me privately in terms of what if you're struggling with something. You can also raise your hand. So on the same 3 dots, just under the chat, there's buttons there, which I'll show you what they look like in the next screen. Just use those buttons to communicate with us and communicate particularly with me so that I can see what you need. You can even tell me when it's time for you to, you can say, hey, we've spoken too much, can we have tea? I will see by the signs of how many people are looking for tea. And then I can be able to stop the speaker and say, hey, people are no longer listening, they're thirsty. And then if you're writing in the chat box, write to be understood, people. I know some of us are writing in that shorthand, but some of us are old, so we don't know how this thing works. So write to be understood. And then respect the diversity. There will be, as we go through the day, there will be people coming in and out of the session. So some sessions might have more people, might have less people. I don't know what's happening. So I'm just here to make sure that whoever it is safe. And the safe space, it doesn't matter in terms of genders, in terms of age, orientation, religion. So let's be careful about how we speak. Let's respect each other as if we are in the hall, and we want to make sure that not everybody, nobody ends the day offended. And then no flaming. So flaming is actually a very interesting term for people who don't understand the technology stuff. So if you've been on Twitter, you have been flamed, because you will put a word there and say, today I'm having a beautiful black coffee. And then all of a sudden you'll have 25 people going like, and you're telling us this because. That's a flame right there. So let's not do that here. We're keeping it classy. If you want to give feedback and something is not happening, let's be respectful, but let's give feedback where it's necessary, preferably privately rather than publicly, if you may. And then I promise that I will share. By the way, can you see the screen? I'm assuming you can see the screen, because I'm reading this stuff and Dr. Magadlela is like frowning everywhere. So I'm not sure. So I'm not sure if you can see the screen. Can you see the screen?
We can see the screen, Mongezi.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Colleen. And then in terms of the mics, some of us have dogs and cats and children running around, and then some of us have spouses that didn't wake up in the right frame. So let's put our mics on mute so that we cannot hear all of those interesting things in your lives. But when you then want to speak, you will see that there will be can you see my mouse there when it's moving? Cool. So there's a lower hand or raise hand. It will show on your screen. Just raise your hand and then wait for me to call you, and then I will say Tendo wants to speak, or Motlalepule wants to speak, or Tebogo wants to speak, etc. And then those are the other icons that you can use. Essentially, if you need a cup of tea, the more of those cups I see, the more I know that we need to shut up and take a little bit of a break. And I can see that there's a lot of messages that are coming through. I'm not reading your messages yet, so I will read them a little later. So, and then switch your video off if you have to stand up during the lecture or the presentation, just so that the speaker is not offended. They don't think that you're finding them boring. I'm playing. But it is always useful to switch the video off if you're doing something important that you don't want us to see. But you can keep it on so that we can see you smiling and enjoying the presentation. And then there's a clap button there. Just clap if you feel compelled. So you don't have to clap if it's terrible, if the presentation is terrible. But if you really enjoyed it, let's clap it and give the feedback to the speaker. You can see the icon there at the bottom of your screen, and that shows that. And then we spoke about the chat box in terms of asking questions and comments. And note that all the comments will be kept. So whatever you put on there, just assume it is in a public forum. We will be taking and keeping all the comments. We may not necessarily share them publicly, but you never really know who else might see them beyond us. So act as if you are in a public forum. And then lastly, from the same vein, I am recording this session. So this is also for the future, but also to make sure that some people are able to listen to some of these conversations later. All right, almost done. And then, all right, so as I said, we were supposed to actually, I was like very clever and created that timeline, but that timeline is changed, so I will be changing it. But the first conversation that we're going to have is Dr. Magadlela. And without further ado, I want to introduce Dr. Magadlela, who is a long-term partner in the business, coach that I respect completely, global coach, and he has been working quite a lot all over the world. But one thing I'm always excited about with working with Dumi is his humanity, and he will be talking a little bit about that humanity and how it relates to the Africa in the 22nd century. Welcome, Dr. Dumisani Magadlela. Oh yeah, Dumi is a board member of the Africa Board for Coaching, so he is, in a sense, my boss. All the applause for Dr. Magadlela. Dr. Magadlela, over to you.
Thank you very much. Mongas is our president. As many of you may not know, he's the president of the Africa Board for Coaching, Consulting, and Coaching Psychology. So thank you. He's very humble like that. He always calls all of us his bosses, but we know he's the boss. Thank you. But his boss is Douglas, so Douglas is somewhere in the room. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. We're very excited that we managed to do this and be together here. We were going to proceed even if we had 2 people. The idea is to really do this, and it's great to see everyone here. So really welcome to our symposium. I think it's very important for me as I start to say that it's going to be a very short presentation, because I prefer that we have a conversation and not a blurping out of information that I've collected or gathered or some thoughts. I prefer to have a dialogue in that. So I'm going to share some thoughts in a few slides and then take you through that, and then we can have a conversation. So Mark, you're going to tell me when the time is up, when you need to do that. You can quickly send me a note, or you can just tell me. But for now, I'm going to share this screen and then take us through that. Can we all see the screen?
Yes.
Thank you. So we're looking at Africa post-COVID-19, and we're saying leveraging on youth and technology as one of the major themes of this symposium. Now, what I'm looking at, what I'm talking to you about is really the concept of Ubuntu and human values, and then Ubuntu coaching, which is a concept that I've written about, really published an article about in a book on transformational coaching on this. And the book, you'll find it, I'm not advertising here, Makalim. This little book, which says something about transformational coaching, there's a chapter in there about Ubuntu coaching, introducing it. It says, what is it, this Ubuntu coaching? I'm not going to talk about it a lot. I'm going to talk about the values that we need post-COVID, and they're grounded in Ubuntu Ubuntu. So one thing about me that I do, just to place some context in this, one of the things I do, besides being on the board of this organization that is hosting you today, I also serve on the global ICF Foundation board as a trustee on that. The work there is similar to what Monges has been doing for the last, I don't know how many years, promoting the profession of coaching and its growth on the continent. And we do this as the ICF Foundation also globally, to say we need to take this service profession called coaching into the rest of the world, which is why this symposium and the work that this board does is so important. And so we need to find ways to brand it accordingly and promote it in the spirit of Ubuntu, and I always say that on that we do. Now, just to take you through my slides very quickly, and if we have questions, please save them for the next, I'm going to be about 10 to 15 minutes, I should be done. Let me know if this thing is moving. Like I'm trying to move it down. It's not responding to me. Okay, here we go.
I think it's a bit slow for some reason. Yeah.
All right. Okay, I've got it now, so I should be able to move it around. A note on our context to start with, that we are, as Monges said, in the second largest continent in the world, but we are in the richest one. Rich not just in natural resources, but rich in people and values that the world needs now more than ever before. So Africa has opportunities galore, and for me the shocking thing every day I wake up and see is that we are not taking advantage of the opportunities that we sit in as Africans. Besides being the youngest continent on earth, with an average of 19 years old, this is the world population, the UN agency that says that we are a very young continent, an average of 19 years in terms of population. The last time I checked, the oldest average age was 42. And this was Japan and Germany together. Their average age is 42. Africa's average age is 19. You have a continent who estimates by all kinds of estimates from UN agencies and consulting bodies and research organizations say that by 2040 or 2050, Africa will overtake or exceed India, China combined with the number of young, active working people on the continent. That's when we'll have about over 2.5 billion people. But we'll have the largest pool of working people, working age population. As other populations are growing older, we're not even getting any in older ourselves. We have our population growth rate is still increasing. So this is an opportunity that is unprecedented on the continent. In the middle of that, we have the AU Agenda 2063, the first really comprehensive blueprint for Africa's unity and development. For the first time, we have a really comprehensive understanding of what we need to do to develop this continent, starting with infrastructure development, technology, connectivity, leapfrogging, the so-called industrial development, the industrial revolutions. We can do it differently. So we have right now the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which has been ratified by most of the continent. And this, in my view, is the biggest, largest opportunity that the continent has right now. And the thing is, what are we as coaches doing about that? So we need to leverage and take on the technological interconnectivity. Exactly what we're doing now with this symposium. It's the biggest lies we have are the borders and the visas and the rest of that, the obstacles we place on ourselves, practically putting shackles on each other as Africans, working against the very thing that we espouse on political stages as what we need. But in our respective areas, we constrain ourselves like that. It shouldn't be. We should not be doing that. So this is a note on our context, and I'm going to move on to what the rest of my talk is about. So I'm talking about Ubuntu Butu, and there are many Ubuntu or Umuntu, and in different African, in Uganda, in Kenya, Rwanda, and Kiswahili, it's the same terms around two and the Ubuntu part. This is a common thing across many African communities. It's known very, very well. So what it means, I am because we are. And the reason I'm bringing this in is because it lays the foundation for who we are and how we come across to each other wherever we are. It means that I can never be fully what or who I can fully be, when you cannot be fully who or what you have the potential to become or to be. In other words, if I create conditions for you to be fully who you can be, it's to my benefit. And I constrain myself when I try to limit you. Yeah, we know our history of colonialism and apartheid, what it did. Imagine if it hadn't been, where would we be as a people across the continent? So solution, suggested solution, let us co-create conditions that are conducive for all of us to fully express our gifts that we came here to showcase in this life. Human beings have a very short lifespan. If you get to 70, you're very lucky. And look around, some of us are sneaking up close to that. If you're 80, great innings. 90, wow. 100, rare. But health practitioners saying that very soon living over 100, 120 is going to be the norm. That we won't see that, many of us in this room right now. But the thing is, while we are still here, are we doing the best we can to create conditions for everyone to be the best they can be? That is the question. With the technology we have and this symposium, a platform for us to talk to each other and share, are we doing enough for that? And that's the question I want to leave with you here now. Let me just wrap up on this one. Just more on what Ubuntu is for understanding those that are interested. We have in isiZulu or the Nguni languages, we have this, that sawubona, which is I see you. In isiXhosa is molo. So sawubona, you see this a lot, we hear about it many times. But my question to that, dear Africans, all of us are Africans. If you, Monges described very nicely what an African is. Do we really see each other? Do we see each other?